All right, we're going to try again what we tried last night. We heard the sound wasn't so good, so we are back. So I'm going to get comfortable. So I might be doing this a lot of times until we finally get this right. Last night, I talked a little bit about ecclesiology and what it means to be church. As a pastor, you're given an awesome responsibility for a parish where basically you have total authority over that parish. The bishop can't come in and sell your land. He can't make staff changes. Whatever it is, you are the pastor. It is your parish. I think the thing that most people forget, and anybody who knows any two people, no two people ever totally agree. So to say I ever totally agree with my bishop would be crazy. That's impossible. Even though I love my bishop, it would be unreasonable to say we always agree. Palm Sunday was a perfect example. I had a great plan to distribute palms, and he said no. And he came back and he said unity. I think what people forget sometimes is at our ordinations, we take a promise of obedience. Some religious priests take a vow of obedience. And with that obedience, we are then tasked to do as the Archbishop asks us. Sometimes there are questions when we ask the bishop something that's within the covenants of our diocese. It's one of the things that we should bring to the bishop. And that's by his choice or by canon law. And the bishop will respond, you decide. That means he's giving you the authority to deal with that issue yourself. But most of the times, like with the thing with the palms, the bishop said this is a question of unity. And I said, yes, bishop, and we did it. We didn't distribute palms at all. So with that obedience comes, and without that, it doesn't create harmony within the Christian church. As we're going through the Acts of the Apostles every day, you can hear the different things as we get further into the Acts that cause disunity among the early disciples of Christ, because they started bickering about different things that weren't really important got in the way. I know most pastors are getting a lot of emails and questions. Why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Why can't we do this? Other dioceses are doing them. Other churches are doing them. The simple question is, we are doing, at least at St. Pius, and I think all the parishes, at least in my deanery, and most in the archdiocese, are doing what the Archbishop has asked. And it's just not the Archbishop alone. He has a council of bishop, a council that's working with him. He has a presbyteral council. He has Bishop Mike and his whole crew that's working on this. And no decision has been made lightly. And they're trying to do the best things for what's there. An example is, we are closed. We are not to do things that gather people to the church. And people were thinking that, I was being mean when I said, if people still meet for regularly scheduled rosaries or get together for rosaries or scheduled prayer at the church, I have to lock the Blessed Sacrament Chapel up. It's not about that. The bishop has asked that we help support the stay-at-home order. And if we're bringing people together, especially in our Blessed Sacrament Chapel that has no really good ventilation in it, we're truly violating that order. And yes, it said we could have 10 people, but there's no way. Even we went down and we have 4 chairs in that room now. And now we're back down to 4 chairs. We allow one person, since some people just like to kneel or whatever else, to be present in that room. So we have to keep that distancing. The doctors are telling us. And so as we continue, although I could say, no, I don't care what the bishop says, that doesn't create for a good future. That doesn't help me to be the priest that I need to be and to thrive in the diocese, because then you end up at odds with your bishop. You lose the trust of the bishop, and you get a lot less messages back that say, you decide. But once you and the bishop have that trust, you have more autonomy in that. And this is one of those times that we have to trust the decisions that come down from the diocese. Yes, I could do my own thing, but my promise of obedience, which I made at my ordination to my bishop and his successors, which we renew at every Chrism Mass. This year was in my recliner. Well, next year I hope it's not in my recliner, even though that was the most comfortable seat I've ever had for a Chrism Mass. That is how we live and deal with these things. So I ask you, as we go through this time, if you're not one of my parishioners, be good to your priests, be good to your pastors. This is difficult for all of us. Realize that the buck stops here, stops at our bishop. I was introducing the Archbishop to a group of kids before the pandemic started, right as isolation was starting, whatever else. And I said, this is Archbishop Gustavo. His boss is the Pope. And I think people will forget how flat the hierarchy is for our church. Archbishop's boss is the Pope. My boss, well, we have Jim Fisher, who's the vicar for clergy, But technically, the bishop has given him the authority to deal with us. Technically, as a dean, my boss is the bishop. You could say Jim Fisher, then the bishop, but my obedience is to the bishop. So in order to respect that and the health of our church, that is how we do things. And that's how obedience comes in, to keep the pastors making choices which keep the archdiocese and the priests in them working along the same spirituality of which the church has picked for the bishop running that diocese. I hope this wasn't too long and rambling. Hope this might help people understand things. And this is mostly a test just to see if we can do YouTube and Facebook Live off the same computer. Hope you're having a great evening. Tomorrow's Thursday will be Monsignor Cherry Nolan's funeral at 10 o'clock. It will be live on Facebook. It'll be live on KSAT. And it will also, for here at St. Pius, we'll have adoration at 6, more of an adult focused with just music and quiet. At 8 o'clock, we'll have our teen adoration as usual, just without the teens present, with music and reflections. So we have all that coming up. Thank you all for your support, and I will see you at Mass at 8:15 in the morning.